Welcome to the WangHiro podcast, where we answer Malaysians' burning questions about personal finance with fact-based answers.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of WangHiro, where in this particular episode, we're taking Salene, a fresh graduate. I wouldn't say fresh, okay? What, 2 years working already?
Yeah.
Okay. Fresh enough, okay? As we take her through a journey where she progressed from, just investing into fixed D and now starting to dabble into the stock market. How are you this evening, Salene?
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So if you want to learn more about how Salene actually came out from her shell and willing to take a little bit more risk and understanding how she can control a little bit of this risk, check out our earlier episodes in WangHiro. My name is John and I'll be the host for today. And we're going to take Salene through another case study of a company that she picked, a Malaysian company that I think most of us would have come into contact either directly or indirectly, right, Salene?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you spend, right? Okay, so what is the company we're going to talk about today?
Today we're going to talk about GHL Systems Berhad.
Okay, GHL Systems Berhad. Now, for those of you millennials out there who do not have a credit card, oh, you don't know what you're missing, right? Excuse me. But make sure you spend wisely. So, what does GHL actually does, Salene?
They are like a middleman between the commerce platform and your bank.
Okay, so they actually provide, okay, let's share the screen now. They actually provide a middleman kind of service to actually transact credit card transactions, right? They
Yeah.
provide the terminals, they provide what do you call it, software code. Let's just say if you are on an e-commerce website like a Shopee or a Lazada and your merchant happens to use GHL, so when you pop up and you key in all those code that you need to key in your security number, whatsoever, some of this may be facilitated by a provider like GHL, right? Okay, so what else do they do, Salene? Looking here, investment holding company payment services. So they do Philippines, Thailand, Australia, Singapore. So they have three.
ASEAN countries.
Yeah, a lot of the ASEAN countries. So they have three segments: transaction, payment, acquisition, shared services, and solution services. Okay, e-pay, including telco, prepaid, credit top-up, bill collection. Wow, they do all this. Okay, loyalty, loan collection. Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, and they developed this thing called a net dot point software solution. Excuse me. They do IT consulting and management services also. So, for those of you unfamiliar, I think where was the first time you heard about this GHL, Salene?
When I'm trying to buy something, then I'm thinking how it links to a different, like if I pay through my bank, it transfer me to my bank. So how it links.
So that got you
that's-
thinking first, lah, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Salene's first encounter with GHL. For those of you who don't buy or don't shop e-commerce, but if you go out to restaurants and you actually eat and you want to pay, you notice that some of those terminals, those credit card terminals, are actually owned and built by GHL. So if you turn, if you see like a Maybank, it says Maybank at the top, but actually if you flip to the back, the machine is actually built by, let's see whether we can Google them, okay? GHL credit card terminal. How does it look like? There you go. So if it's a black color one, then you know it's GHL. I think one of the competitors is this one. You see this white one over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the competitors called Revenue Group. Okay, so yeah, even Pay Here is by GHL. Oh, interesting. Have you seen these small ones before, Salene?
No.
It's quite cute. It's like a dongle, it's like a pocket calculator,
Uh-huh.
and then you just tap on the top here also.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very cute. Look at it. It's like a Casio calculator like that, right? Yeah, wireless.
Calculator.
Yeah, this is the old one lah. This is in Hokkien one called Lao Bear. the Laobei terminal. This one is the new one. This one wireless, very sleek, whatever lah. Yeah, but this is a okay. So first question of the day, standard question. What do they do and how do they make money? I guess. How do you think they make money? Salene?
Every time they became the middleman, maybe they charge a percentage of the payments.
Yeah, probably every swipe there's a certain percentage of the transaction that they actually capture. Because many people to pay, you gotta pay MasterCard, you gotta pay Visa, you gotta pay a bit to the bank. Okay, you gotta pay a little bit to GHL lah. So everyone takes a cut lah. It wouldn't be like 10%, but it would be like
a small percentage.
3% out of that 3%, and they cut here a bit lah. Okay, so then what's the second question that we should be asking?
Are they profitable and stable?
Okay, so let's plot the numbers. Wow, revenue seems to be climbing. Let's look at net profit, net income, and operating cash flow. Wow, seems to be negative, 2022. Okay, so they seem to be growing revenue year on year. Okay, COVID hit them a little bit lah, not as much. I would think that COVID would have improved them because more people moved to online and cashless transaction, right? Yeah, but apparently it took a little bit of a dip and then went back up. And then in 2022, about 410 million. They haven't released their 2023 figures yet lah. Net income comes in at about 28 million. So that gives it about, I think, 15% kind of margins. No, 10%. Operating margins, no, net margins. Wow, less, 6%. Quite a tight business, Salene. I was also a bit surprised. Why very, very, very tight margins? I would have expected a little bit higher, right? Double digit. But yeah. Cash flow wise, 28 million, but they had a negative operating cash flow, 18 million. Let's see why. So depreciation was 23 million, which is quite high. Change in accounts receivable. Now, when you see change in accounts receivable minus 165, what does that tell you from your logic?
Negative mean they didn't manage to get the payment from their customers.
They haven't collected.
Yeah.
Even though they charged the sale already in their income statement, but you have an accounts receivable that increased in the negative direction by 165 million. This is just changes. So want to see the accounts receivable, you have to go to the balance sheet. So from 61 million in 2021, their accounts receivable increased by about 40 million in 2022 to 104 million. So increased by about, on average, you see, is 30, 40, 60, obviously.
About 2020.
Yeah, so almost double from 2021. 62 million now is 104, almost double. It's quite crazy, okay?
Yeah.
And then last 12 months is 303, the accounts receivable. Can you see this figure here? It's 3 times now. More.
Yeah.
So they might be reporting a loss again this year. Yeah. So again, right, you can get somewhat of an forward indication by looking at their rolling 4-quarter numbers. You get what I mean? Because you can get 3 quarters of this year and then 4th quarter of last year. So it's a rolling 4-quarter. And then this LTM or last 12 months, you can somewhat get a forward indication of what the 2023 numbers would be, even though the results have not been announced. You see where I'm coming from? Yeah. So, wow, accounts receivable ballooned to quite big, 303 million. Something to watch out for, okay? So in terms of, sales-wise, revenue-wise against net profit, okay lah, generally they can make profit every year, but very
low margin.
Very low margins, below 10% kind of thing. Okay. So now let's take a look at the balance sheet. Let's see. Let's clear this first. Okay. Cash and equivalent was about 189 million. Okay. And then their total debt would be about 50 million. So it looks like they are net cash, which is quite safe. It's quite safe. Definitely more cash than that. I think. Why do you think they are so net cash? What do you think the business model is like? Do you think they need to have a lot of capex spend or not in this kind of business?
Yes.
Do you think so compared to a factory?
Yeah. Compared to factory, maybe not so much because they mostly invest in the machine and maybe
I don't
like
think the terminals are that expensive though.
yeah.
Yeah, and then they invest in the code. The code is kind of free. It's just manpower, labor, right? Yeah.
And
So
then your securities also.
security, all that could be costly, but I don't think it will be as costly as a manufacturing business lah. That's why the cash, they are slightly better in terms of cash flow generation. I mean cash retention rather than trying to spend and grow the business. So what is the next question? So we know what they do and we know whether they're profitable. Then what's the next question after that?
Who are their audience?
Who are the audience and how big is their addressable market? Now, before I share my opinion, how do you think we should try to find out the audience size for a business like GHL?
I cannot say it's population also. Is it population?
Warm enough, but what population? What is the number of? There's a specific. Who are the users?
The buyers, like shoppers.
Shoppers. Oh no, merchants. Businesses. Correct.
Yeah.
Businesses that because they want to charge their clients, So I would start looking for things like businesses growing or not? Small, medium enterprises or online commerce, is it still growing in Malaysia or not? And then I will look for, is there growth in restaurants within Malaysia? So I'm looking for hints or clues on businesses that will need their terminals, that would need their, their e-payment solutions, right? That kind of thing. So statistics from statistic department or maybe industrial magazines to find out, is business actually still growing and things like that lah. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Because for me, right, how do we look for addressable market is always who's the client? Figure out who the client is, okay, and then try to see or find out ways and means how the client is growing. So what I'm trying to share here, Salene, is that it's not so much the answer we're looking for, but framing the right question. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So addressable market means, okay, they sell credit card terminals, they sell e-payment solutions. So who is the client? Is merchants? Then we gotta figure out who are the merchants. Are they growing? Are they stagnating? Did COVID really impact? Like COVID really impacted the restaurant business. A lot of businesses closed down. So, but restaurants are not the only business users of credit cards, It could be,
retail.
Did any new kind of business came out, like bubble tea, or like like fashion outlets, or did merchants on Shopee or Lazada grow even more? So you got to figure out many ways. I mean, like Shopee, I do think there really some statistics whether merchants grew or whatever. So you got to do your detective work. You got to figure out. Yeah, am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So last but not least, what's the last question?
How cheap are they?
Okay, valuation wise, now competition here, I think it's easier to see as compared to our previous company, MyEG, right? So now looking at competitor, they don't have. Okay, so maybe off the top of your head, since we had this discussion earlier, who will be competitors to GHL?
Razer,
PayPal, IP88. Right, companies like Stripe, it's not public listed yet, but it's a private company. Companies like Senang Pay, have you heard of them?
No.
Okay.
And then all these companies are like private limited.
Yeah, a lot of them are private. So like Senang Pay, they don't have the credit card terminal, but what they do is, let's just say you want to start selling you remember the toys that you wanted to sell? The figurines or all this that you wanted to sell, and you didn't want them to bank into your account because you want to protect your account, right?
Mm.
So you want them to pay, you want to allow them to pay credit card. You can go to someone like Senang Pay, okay? You see here for businesses, so they can be a social media seller, and then you can do things like pricing. So what you do is this. They will charge you Visa. You can allow you to do even FPX. They allow you to do even e-wallets like, Touch and Go, Grab Pay. You can even do Atome. This, let's say what they call it, the installment payments. Installment payments. And then if you, they don't do credit card. They don't do credit card terminals because for them, they are more specialized in like internet payments. Online. So, like what you mentioned earlier, PayPal. PayPal is a competitor to them as well. So again, this space, there's actually quite a bit of competition, either locally or abroad. And, people even like Revenue Group that creates the white colored credit card terminal. So what I find very intriguing, for the lack of a better word, is that Malaysian companies are very afraid to name their competitors. Whereas if you go to countries like the US or whatever, Nike will tell you about Adidas or whatever. They'll say, we compete in these markets with Adidas or New Balance or whatever. Whereas Malaysian companies, I don't know whether they think the investors are not smart enough to find out or whatever, but yeah, if you do enough digging and you read and you understand the industry, actually you can find out pretty fast by asking the right questions. So maybe I'll show you how. Payment solutions provider
In Malaysia.
You've got 10 payment gateways, you see. I didn't even know about this. You've got WorldPay, never heard of it. iPay88, okay. Bill Please, I have never heard of it, okay.
Yeah.
PayCLY, okay. We got to figure out, you and your best payment gateway provider. Okay. If you want to accept 900 plus local payments, RAPYD. I told you about Stripe. I love Stripe. Global. You got Senang Pay. You got PayPal. You got dLocal. Okay, wow, I never heard of this. And then Recta. You see? So you can start, searching one by one. Okay, and this is only one search engine, right? Best payment gateway. Okay. Top 6 online payment gateways. So actually a lot of ways to research, right?
Yeah.
By doing a Google search, and then you start digging, spend a few hours, start digging. And then what's the other way that you can research, Salene? What other ways you can find out about all these providers?
Yeah. The company doesn't tell you about their competitors.
Your clients. Go to a restaurant. Ask them. Very easy, ma. You go to the restaurant. Hey, auntie,
Lu Yong Hamid.
Terminal. Okay, so literally translated into English is, auntie, which credit card provider you're using? Which one is better? Then you ask them whether got any complaint or not. It's very good research one, This technique is called scatterbutt. So what you do is you go and find out from the user themselves. So like, if we want to invest in someone like Family Mart or QL, go to Family Mart lah. Then you go to CU Mart lah, and then you compare food good or not. Is the tray arranged nicely? Then you go to 7-Eleven. Then you go and benchmark again lah. You see what I mean?
Yeah, like site visit.
Correct. It's like you think of it, you become like a detective. So when a detective, you go on the ground lah, ask people lah, because it's not just Googling ma. Googling, we have a joke for it, Salene. We call it desktop research. Desktop only ma. You do the desktop research. But what you want to do is you want to do on the ground research. That's where you get a lot more clues. Yeah. Okay, so do you have any other questions besides what you've asked so far?
We didn't know how cheap are they.
Oh yes, okay. So coming back to this, let's look at valuation and we look at multiples. So I do annual, I drag maybe for 2016. So let's plot next 12 months PE, and we plot last 12 months diluted PE. Okay, here we go. Past 10 years, wow, during COVID went up. Xiao. 190 times, 96 times, okay? But in the meantime, the last 12 months, high was 203, low was about 15 times. The last is about 26 times for last 12 months and 24 times for next 12 months. That means next 12 months means they project what's the earnings next year and then they see what's the price today lah. So at 24 times, quite a big difference for MyEG.
Yes.
It's double that of MyEG right now. Why do you think these guys are expensive in terms of valuation? Come out with your reasoning. Nothing, no wrong answers. Give me a guess.
Everybody need to pay for your food,
That's
your
one.
clothes.
That's one. If you have one credit card terminal, do you want to go through the mafaness of changing to another one or not?
No.
No,
Later
right?
you see got the transfer or to end your contract early, things like that.
Yeah. Very mafan, right? So that's one mode that they have, which is switching costs. Switching costs and network, switching costs and actually network advantage. Because tatalang tu yong lah, everyone is using this. Why do you want to be different and change to another one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 4 questions: what business are they in? Payment service provider. In terms of, are they profitable? Yes, they are. But what seems to worry both of us now is the accounts.
Yes.
Accounts receivable, remember?
Like whether they can get back the money or not.
Correct. Can they collect from the customer? And then next, in terms of the addressable market, we didn't show that on the screen, but if you were to do your research, we would find out how many merchants are there in Malaysia. Is it growing? Are there still room for them to supply more terminals or more payment service providers? And last but not least, valuation-wise, you're talking about 20 times right now, 20 to 30 times. More towards the 30 times already, 26 times, right? So if you don't have any more questions, do you think we can wrap up?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this episode, we've actually talked about GHL Systems, a payment solutions provider in Malaysia. If you love quick, rapid-fire analysis like this, do subscribe to the channel, give it a like, hit that notification bell so that you know new videos are out, and let that YouTube algorithm spread the love around, and let more people go through the same journey like what Salene is going through, and hopefully they can increase their investment skills. So Salene, we'll see them and the audience in the next video, right?
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.